So, Piper, how's your day going so far? Can you tell our YouTube channel viewers what's happened to us today so far?
Okay, so I have a sad but exciting update. So this morning we head out to our home base, or the airport where the 182 is being stored. And we get there and, you know, we do our run up, we get out to the runway, and we had a little issue, so we decided, you know what, we haven't flown the 210 in a while, why don't we head over to the hangar and we'll exercise the 210, we'll just go for lunch, it'll be a short video. So then we go to where the 210 is being stored at a different airport that we have to drive to. And we get there, once again, put all our cameras on this plane because we got to switch all the cameras, switch everything, bring the headsets from the other plane, the whole shebang. And then we do our checklist pre-flight, get out into the runway. We're like number 2 for takeoff. The plane before us takes off. And then all of a sudden there's like a plane in the dead middle of the runway, just on its belly. So we didn't even see what happened, but apparently you can tell them.
Well, he either landed gear up or the gear collapsed after landing. It was a Baron, a twin-engine Baron, and they may bring it in here shortly and park it somewhere here on the ramp.
And we'll check our video later, just in case we do fix it.
We might have one of the wing cameras that has the whole thing.
That's what I'm saying.
I can't believe it. So we started our day at 10 a.m. It's now 2 o'clock. We've gone to 2 airports, sat in 2 planes.
Taxied all the way
Taxied
up
up-
to a run out.
Yep,
Doing a run up.
ready to go.
2
Ready to
run-ups.
go.
In 2 different planes at 2 different airports. And now we're just like, we'll have some lunch, I guess.
I'm ready to have a margarita and fly right here at this table.
I've never seen something like that happen before, though, so it was exciting. I wish I had actually witnessed it.
Well,
Yeah.
we recorded an open today, too, where Piper said we're flying to Santa Paula for lunch. Obviously, we did not make it to Santa Paula.
No, we're
not.
We're at the Waypoint Cafe at Camarillo, California.
Which is our favorite anyway.
One of
so
our favorite restaurants.
It's so good. I mean, it could definitely turn this day around for sure.
I mean, to have an airplane that's disabled blocking the runway, there's corporate jets coming in here that can't land. I actually had a flat tire here and I disabled on the runway.
Really.
Oh, really?
But not for like
Not
4
very long.
hours, yeah. When I made that TikTok and I said in the caption, where should we fly for lunch next? First one, everyone said Waypoint Cafe, Waypoint Cafe.
Wow.
Everyone knows about it, I think, in California.
Wow.
This is as quiet as it's ever going to be at Camarillo Airport.
Yeah,
Yeah. Right.
it's good that everybody is alive and okay.
I was flying captain on a Boeing 727 quite a while back. It was summertime. We were going from Miami to Detroit, Michigan. And we took off and we got up in the air. And the flight attendant called up from the back end of the plane and she said, Captain, I just want to let you know we have one passenger that's having a seizure. And I said, okay, you know, that's happened before, no big deal. See if there are doctors on board. And she called back and she said, yeah, there's 2 doctors on board and they're checking out this passenger. So about 10 minutes later, the flight attendant calls us back up again. And she says, Captain, you're not going to believe this, but the gentleman that was having the seizure was sitting in a middle seat, and right now, in the row behind him, the guy in the middle seat, sitting directly behind him, he's having a seizure too.
What?
Wow.
What are the odds that you would have 2 people on a plane having a seizure at the same time, sitting directly in front of each other, you know, one guy behind the other guy? So I said, okay, that's, you know, really strange. And then a couple minutes later, we got a call that more people were having seizures on the plane.
Like more than 2?
Right.
What?
And so anyway, I finally got one of the doctors on the interphone. And he said, Captain, he goes, these people are all in the same group. It's an intramural hockey team. I'm talking to their leader, and he's telling me that he thinks that it's food poisoning. I said, well, what do you think it is? He goes, I think they ingested something, like a designer drug. And at that time, PCP,
Miami.
Yeah, at that time, PCP was very popular. And I saw a woman on PCP at LAX, And when one policeman came and saw her, he waited until 4 other cops came before they approached her. And they could barely get the handcuffs on her.
You just go crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you have
It
like
needs
super strength.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we were worried that if these people were on PCP, they may come into the flight deck. So I told my flight engineer, I said, grab the crash axe. We have a crash axe in the flight deck. It's the only weapon we had at the time. And it just looks like a hatchet, but it's made to actually go through aluminum.
Oh, wow.
Like if there was a crash and you wanted to free somebody, just like they have the jaws of life for cars, this crash axe would help you cut the aluminum to get somebody free.
And they don't have those anymore?
They have them on every airplane,
Oh, still?
every jetliner, yeah,
Okay.
to this day. So anyway, I told my flight engineer, because back then the flight deck doors were paper thin. They were like a closet door at a Motel 6. I mean, they were just like cardboard. Anybody could kick through them. So I told my flight engineer, I said, better grab the crash axe and be ready in case one of these people decides to come up here. So anyway, I made the decision that we were going to return to Miami, but the 727 could not land at the same gross weight that it took off at. In other words, it could take off at gross weight, but we had to dump fuel. So we dumped 25,000 pounds of fuel into the Everglades before we could safely land the plane. And we landed the plane, and the paramedics were advised in advance. They came on the plane and got on the PA system. Nobody got off the plane, and they said, somebody better hand over the drug. You know, because if you want your friends to live, somebody better hand over the drug. And I think somebody did hand over the drug, whatever it was, some designer drug. And then I watched them take these people off the plane. There were 13 having seizures.
No way.
13 people.
13, wow.
Out of
Like
the-
having seizures for a long time?
Constantly. Now here's the deal.
Oh, God.
Half of the people that they took off the plane were unconscious, and the other half were screaming in pain. And they had them in a straight chair. You know what a straight chair is? It's a chair they used to take handicapped people on and off the aircraft. And they had them seat belted in, you know, and the ones that were conscious were screaming in pain. It was horrific.
They're in pain. Why? Because their muscles are just like,
I don't know.
God.
It's like some reaction to the drug or something. But
Holy cow.
the airline got me on the phone and they said, look, there's 30 people in that group. Get all of them off your plane. I said, what about the ones that aren't having seizures? They said, no, we want everyone.
They're going to have
off the
seizures
plane.
in an hour. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
So that was an interesting story.
Did they ever figure out like what it was?
I mean, nobody ever told me. That's all I knew. I was just happy to go home, and it freaked everybody out on the plane.
Oh, I can imagine sitting next to that.
How long was it delayed?
Oh, we had to refuel, get a new release, new flight plan. You know, so probably almost 2 hours on the ground before we could take off again. We were lighter. We had 30 less people. There was another time where we were flying to Tokyo from LAX, and we were out over the ocean, and we were double crewed. So there was another captain. He was going to he did the takeoff in the first half of the flight, and then I did the second half of the flight and landing. So I decided to watch a movie. There were open seats in first class, so I was watching a movie, and the Japanese interpreter came up to me and said, the other captain wants you to know we're not going to be going to Tokyo. We're going to divert and we're going to go into Anchorage, Alaska. And I said, really? Why? And she said, well, we have a passenger that's in a coma and they can't wake him up. And I said, oh, okay. Tell me where he's at? I want to go see him, because I kind of knew what was going on. So I went back, and this guy was in the front of the coach section. So they had all these people in coach that were watching. There were 2 Japanese doctors, and every seat in the plane was full. So he was in a row of 3 seats, and the 2 women sitting in the other 2 seats had to get up because he was laying down in their seats. And when I looked at him, I noticed he was like in the fetal position, and he had like a smile on his face, but they couldn't wake him up.
Wait, was he older or younger?
No, fairly, like 35 years old. So the Japanese doctor told me, he said, heart rate low, blood pressure very low, breathing very shallow, we can't wake him up. I said, okay. I said, would you like some oxygen? And they go, oh, you have oxygen? I said, yeah, we have 27 bottles on board. They go, okay, yes. because I knew what had happened. A lot of the tourists, not just the Japanese tourists, but a lot of people, when they get on a long flight and they're back in coach, they'll take a sleeping pill. They just want to be out the whole flight. And then on top of that, they drink alcohol.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, with the cabin altitude being up at about 6,000 feet, it's just too much for their bodies, the combination of those three things. So they go into almost like a coma state where their breathing is very shallow, their heart rate is very slow, and their blood pressure is really low. So it looks just like a coma. So anyway, I went and I got an oxygen bottle, and when I brought it back, there were these two Japanese doctors there, and they wanted to put the oxygen mask on this guy, but I wouldn't let them. I did it myself. So I put the oxygen mask on this guy, and within about 3 minutes, he woke up and sat up like this. People in the back of the plane were like clapping.
Wow.
And it was
Wow.
like, but here's the thing, it happened, it wasn't like I was like a really smart guy or anything. It happens all the time. And I was really surprised that the flight attendants didn't pick up on it. And because it happens so frequently.
Well, that was a good lunch. I'm sad we didn't get to fly at all today.
Yeah, well, maybe next week or something.
As always, guys, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that post notifications button so you don't miss any flights.